millions right under your feet, and yet you live in poverty. Would you have the nerve to break open this century-old wall to claim a countless fortune? We're about to find out. Hello and welcome to NACO Files. Today we will uncover one of the most dramatic secrets of pre-revolutionary Moscow, a story of forbidden love, cruel betrayal, and a brilliant escape plan that went horribly wrong. What happened to the wealthy heiress Lydia Tsarskaya? Why did she vanish without a trace from her luxurious mansion? And what was the secret code she left for her lover, a code he was never able to read? Get ready. We're traveling back in time to unravel a web of mysteries that has remained unsolved for over a century. Our story begins in Moscow, 1913.
Lydia Tsarskaya was a woman with an extraordinary fate. The heiress to a vast fortune, she lived in a luxurious mansion in the center of Moscow. At first glance, her life seemed like a fairy tale. Balls, receptions, expensive gowns.
Lydia was married to a man she did not love. The marriage was arranged by her parents, as was common in those times. Her husband, a gambler and a carouser, quickly squandered a significant part of her fortune and made no secret of his numerous affairs. Lydia, however, was a delicate, romantic soul. She dreamed of true love and found it, but far too late. Her chosen one was a young and talented architect, a man outside of her social circle. Their affair was secret and passionate. They met in fleeting moments and wrote each other letters full of tenderness. It was in these letters that the key to the future tragedy lay hidden. Lydia understood that their relationship was doomed. In those years, a divorce was a scandal that could destroy one's reputation. But there was another, far more serious reason to be afraid. Her husband, upon learning of the affair, flew into a rage, not out of jealousy, but out of fear of losing access to his wife's money. One day, he uttered a sinister phrase, which was overheard by Lydia's loyal maid.
"If you dare leave me for that pauper, I will have you locked away in an asylum for the insane, and everyone will believe me. Your fortune will remain with me as your guardian."
This was not an empty threat. In those days, punitive psychiatry was a very real tool. A wealthy heiress, declared incompetent, could easily be isolated from the world, her wealth managed by someone else's discretion. Lydia was terrified, but not just for herself. She feared for her lover, whom her husband had also threatened. And so she decided on a desperate course of action. She would stage her own disappearance and secretly pass a portion of her treasures to her lover so he could escape abroad and start a new life. Lydia knew her house better than anyone. Her great-grandfather, who built the mansion, had been an eccentric man and had equipped the house with several ingenious hiding places. One of them was in the wall of her own study, behind a heavy bookcase. It was there she decided to hide the family jewels, necklaces, tiaras, rings with enormous stones. In one of her letters to the architect, she left a coded clue on how to find this hiding place. The key to the cipher was a line from their favorite romance song.
"My love, when I am no longer here, remember the words, 'The night is bright.' Let them guide you to our future. Look where the wisdom of the ages keeps its silence."
The wisdom of the ages, of course, referred to the books in her study, and "The Night is Bright" was the song they had danced to at one of the rare balls where they could be together.
But how could she get the letter to him and be sure it wouldn't fall into her husband's hands? This is where her loyal maid, Anna, came to her aid. The girl owed everything to her mistress and was willing to risk it all for her. On an autumn evening in 1913, everything was ready. Lydia gathered a casket of jewels, placed a farewell letter inside, and hid it in the secret compartment. She gave another letter, the one with the key to the cipher, to Anna, instructing her to deliver it to the architect. As for Lydia, under the cover of darkness, she left her home forever, with only a small sum of money. Her subsequent fate remains unknown. It seemed the plan had worked, but then fate intervened, or more precisely, human tragedy. The next morning, Anna, as instructed, set off to meet Lydia's lover, but she never reached her destination. Moscow was a restless place in those years. Anna was accidentally caught in the middle of a workers' demonstration that was brutally dispersed by the Cossacks. In the chaos and panic, the young maid was killed. The letter with the key to the mystery was never delivered.
The architect waited for news from Lydia, but in vain. He knew of her disappearance, but didn't know what to do next. Lydia's husband, meanwhile, put on a grand performance. He reported his wife's disappearance to the police, hinting at her mental instability. The search led nowhere. The mansion remained in his full possession. He searched for the treasure, but found nothing. He didn't know about the secret compartments. And then the year 1917 erupted. Revolution, chaos, a change of power. Lydia's husband was arrested and vanished in the dungeons of the Cheka. The architect, having lost all hope, emigrated to France, where he lived out the rest of his life in obscurity. The mansion was nationalized and turned into communal apartments. For decades, people lived within these walls, sleeping, cooking, raising children, never suspecting that just beyond a thin partition, behind an old bookcase, a fortune awaited them. The secret of Lydia Charsky would have remained unsolved if not for the curiosity of her distant descendants and the insight of a modern-day investigator who was able to piece the entire puzzle together.
And that is the story. A story of great love, betrayal, and a secret that waited for over a century for its moment to be revealed. It reminds us that every old house, every antique object has its own soul and its own memory. Sometimes all it takes is a closer look to see, behind the facade of the everyday, incredible stories worthy of the most captivating novel. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you enjoyed this format, let me know in the comments, and we will definitely continue our journeys into the past. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new stories. See you soon!